remember during the healthcare battle, and now she's really trying to forget this, but remember during the healthcare battle, Nancy Pelosi famously said, elections have consequences. Remember that? Well, guess what? Elections have consequences. And in 11 days for the Pelosi crew, November is coming. And you're a big part of that. And today, early voting is starting. So how many of you, some of you have already voted, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right, some folks are already voting. Now, it's amazing, and Dave commented on this. It's amazing. This congressman voted for the stimulus bill, $862 billion, later revised to $814 billion, depends on which number you want to go for. He ignored you and voted for the biggest, most wasteful boondoggle, I would argue, in American history. He ignored us on cap and trade. He ignored you on cap and trade, and voted for an energy tax that will kill jobs across this state, across this country, that will drive gas prices up to $6 or $7 a gallon. Remember that crazy United Nations climate change conference last November in Copenhagen? Remember that? Yeah. We went over and did events there and videos there just to show the hypocrisy of this, of Al Gore and Pelosi and this movement. And we stood in front of a gas station in Copenhagen where the equivalent cost of a gallon of gas in US dollars was just over $7.20 a gallon. Now the only difference between $3 a gallon gas here, or $2.80, or maybe $3.20, depends on what part of the country you're in. The only difference between $3 a gallon gas here and $7.20 over there is cap and trade. And yet this congressman wanted you to pay those higher gas prices and pay those higher utility bills. And let's make sure that people know that. That's what these door hangers do. They lay out the record of his support for the Pelosi agenda. And I urge you to take these, and let's make sure that every citizen in this district knows exactly how he's voting. You can also do the freedom phone calls. I was in, and this is one of the most exciting things, I was in Portland, Oregon 2 days ago, 48 hours ago. Not exactly the most conservative place in America. Even in Portland, Oregon, there was a crowd just like this there doing exactly what you're doing. You're part of something bigger than just yourself or just your family or just your county or just your state of Maryland. You're part of a national movement that's swinging our country in a different direction. A direction of limited government, lower taxation, more freedom, and the traditional values that have made our nation so great. You're part of that. President Obama, have you heard the attack he's been making on Americans for Prosperity? Yeah. Wondering who we are attacking us. And by the way, if you're a foreign-controlled corporation here today, thank you for your support of Americans for Prosperity. Dave, that was a joke. It's purely a tip of humor. I want to make sure that's right. But he was going to be in, or he was in Portland, Oregon 2 days ago. We did a rally there, a AFP in the Mystery Tour rally, 2 blocks away from where he was. And here was our statement to the President. Mr. President, you don't have to stand up in front of speeches and denigrate and attack millions of Americans for simply fighting for their freedom. You don't have to do that. If you want to know who we are, if you want to know what this Tea Party movement's about, what this AFP movement's about, just come to our rallies. Come out to an event like this and meet Americans who stand up for these values. He can stop the attack if he would just come to one of those rallies. He won't do that, but we're bringing it to them on November the 2nd and well beyond. Now, I want to thank you for what you're doing. If you ever wonder whether or not you're making a difference, I want you to go back in time for just a moment to January of 2009. I know it's painful, okay? But think about where we were in January of 2009. Brand new president, 74% approval rating. A Congress where Pelosi had over a 50-seat majority and a 60-vote majority for the liberals in the Senate. Democrats, and truth be told, a fair number of squishy Republicans. They had 3 key domestic priorities they were going to push right through. You probably remember them. Number 1, card check. Remember that? Taking away the secret ballot from American workers when they decided whether or not to join a union. It was a payoff to big labor. It was their the priority of the unions. That was number 1. And it was going to sell right through. Number 2 was the cap and trade bill. That was Al Gore and the radical environmental movement's most cherished dream. And then number 3 was the healthcare takeover. And every pundit out there said, oh, it's a done deal. They've got the national media, they got plenty of money, they got the presidency, big majorities in Congress, it's done. They forgot one thing. You know what they forgot? You. They forgot you. And you had your say. And when you came out and told your friends and neighbors that what card check was about, you're going to take away the secret ballot when that single mom on the factory floor or that young worker is going to lose their right to the secret ballot, the American people said, no, I don't think so. And today, card check is not even discussed in polite company. It's gone because of you. Cap and trade. And you can't use it, cap and trade. For a dozen years, the movement, the radical movement on the environmental side, pushed that issue. It was a done deal. And today, I'm happy to tell you it's not over. But as we stand here today, despite the radical environmental movement's best efforts, because of your efforts, cap and trade is deader than a doornail. It's gone. Now, they may try to bring it back, but for now, because of you, it is dead. And healthcare, let's be candid. That was a bitter defeat, wasn't it? It was bitter. We did everything we could. We called and knocked on doors, and I know you did, and we lost with Congress. We may have lost in Congress, and by the way, this member of Congress, Pelosi let him duck the vote on that. We know that. But we lost with Congress. But we won, and we won decisively with the American people. Did you see the poll that came out recently? 56% of our fellow Americans said, we don't just oppose the health care takeover, we want to see it repealed. Think about what that says. You have won the battle on health care. We just got to finish it, and that's what we're going to do. And this November 2nd, I believe we're going to see the most dramatic sea change in American politics in more than a generation. And it's not about any one political party. It's not about any one personality. It's not about any one year. It's about the American people looking at the left and what they offer, more big government, more spending, more deficits, more taking away of freedom, more arrogance, and they look at our side. And the American people are choosing our philosophy and our principles. And here's the commitment we've got to make. As soon as this election's over, let's work all the way through to educate folks. As soon as it's over, you know what's scheduled for November 16th, right? The lame duck session. And what could be more appropriately named from Pelosi and Reid than the lame duck session? They are counting on, they're coming back into office, or coming back in after the election, and their goal is to push through as much of their agenda as possible. Let's make sure that November 3rd, we start telling them, don't you dare ignore the will of the people in this election. Don't you dare pass anything during this lame duck session, period. And then after that, next January, no matter who controls the House, and I believe, and this is just me speaking personally, I believe that Speaker Pelosi will just simply be Nancy Pelosi come January. I do. I believe she will be. That's just me speaking personally, but I think that's what she's going to be. Let's make sure, and this is what we're going to do in Americans for Prosperity. We want the very first vote of this Congress to be an up or down, yes or no, on repealing Obama-Pelosi health care. Let's have an up or down vote, and that's exactly what we're going to insist on. So thank you for what you're doing. It's good to see you all here, and let's make sure every single person either votes today or on November 2nd. Thank you all very much.